On the Isles of Scilly, the Methodist minister, the Reverend David Easton, is hard at work learning a very unfamiliar language.
A, ow, ew, pibber, pibber.
David's applied for a job as a minister in North Wales and knows he must win over the local congregation.
We worship in buildings, we are in locations, but it's the people. The people are the real church.
So a little bit nervous about meeting them?
Well, you're always a bit apprehensive, aren't you, when you meet new people?
Dozens of valuable racing pigeons released from mainland Cornwall to fly home to the north of England are unexpectedly turning up on Scilly, blown off course by recent gales and storms. Islander Patsy has been showing the vet her pigeon's sanctuary.
Oh, God, yeah.
It's on the point of death, really, isn't it?
It is. That's a skeleton with feathers.
Yeah.
And why do you do this, Patsy?
Purely because I can't bear to see them suffer.
And the man who owns the Isles of Scilly, Prince Charles, makes a surprise visit. Heike is hopeful of an introduction.
So you have to do the, you know, and wear a dress, not jeans or not a lab coat.
But not all the islanders are fans of their landlord.
You're not tempted just to go down and have a quick peek at him?
No, I've got better things to do. I say good luck to them. If they want to come here, I hope they enjoy the islands the same as anyone else does. But don't expect all of us to come out cheering.
The Isles of Scilly make up one of the smallest communities in Britain. The population of the remote islands, which lie 30 miles off Land's End in Cornwall, is only about 2,000, the size of a small village on the mainland. Most people live on the largest island of St Mary's, but there are 4 other, much smaller inhabited islands where less than 100 people or so live on each. And traditionally, communication between the islands has been difficult. In the last couple of years, though, the island communities have been brought together by the arrival of a revolutionary new service.
Hello, this is Kerry, and we're back on air from our brand new pristine studios.
Radio Scilly is the world's smallest professional radio station and broadcasts across all 5 islands 7 days a week. It's the brainchild of Islander Kerry Jones, who converted a small attic above the island's estate agent and launched the station 2 years ago. A keen supporter was the Scilly tourist chief, Steve Watt, who helped organise the launch party.
Nothing so becomes a man more than modest stillness and humility, but when Radio Scilly hits your ears, then stand by. That was Henry V.
Now Steve has retired from his main job and has taken over as number 2 at Radio Scilly.
Wednesday also cream teas tomorrow afternoon at St Mary's Hospital, 2:30.
Even though he has to be a one-man band, his daily afternoon show has been a surprise hit.
Well, a lot for you to think about, Steve.
Someone pointed out this morning, said they love listening to me because I make too many mistakes.
For the rest of the time, as the station's roving reporter, Steve Watt has become the eyes and ears of the islands.
Kerry, how's he shaping up as your roving reporter?
Oh, very well. It's a strange situation as well that his son James worked with us, and now Dad's nicked his job because James has gone off to the mainland. So he's keeping it in the family.
He's doing a good job, is he?
Very good, yeah. I've got to say this because it's better than a pay rise, isn't it? You're doing very well. Don't ask for a pay rise.
When he's not in the studio, Steve spends nearly all his time on his famous roving reporter's bicycle. And some of the stories he's recently been working on are quirky, to say the least. Take the case of Patsy Swanborough, a very familiar figure around the harbour area on St Mary's. Patsy's suffered bouts of ill health for years, and when she's tired, she needs a little help to get about. Not that this in any way interferes with her passion to rescue lost racing pigeons. Patsy's often seen down on the quay, picking up birds that have been found in a distressed state from the smaller off-islands. Patsy looks after them in her little pigeon sanctuary while she tries to track down the owners on the mainland. Patsy works alone, and right now Steve's heard she's so many birds, she's in urgent need of help.
This is the bird that came over from Briar
Oh, right.
this morning. It's a well-travelled bird.
Did you realise this was such a problem, Steve?
No, not at all. No, I didn't. I thought, you know, 1 or 2, but I didn't realise as many as 10.
And somebody told me there's 13 at Holy Vale. So how do I cope with all of that?
Well, you can't, can you? No, not without assistance, anyway.
I really do need assistance. If you could put a plea out for me.
Yeah.
I really do need help. But you can see how pale its eye is.
Yeah.
Steve was born here and believes passionately in upholding the values of island life. He loves nothing better than getting his teeth into the real, down-to-earth stories about Scilly and its people.
Yes, I think that's
It's a bit like beachcombing. You know, you cross a beach sometime and it looks as though, look, it's just a beach. But you pull a stone up and there's all sorts of stuff going on underneath. I mean, until you start talking to people, you don't know what stories can come out. I mean, that is one of the most interesting parts of the job, really.
Because you think in a tiny little community, a remote community like this, you'd be struggling to fill the bulletins, but no.
Well, no, and it's often said that every single person has got a novel in them. Well, I reckon that's not quite true, but I think every single person's got the plot of a novel in them.
Steve has to keep his ear to the ground all the time. In a place like Scilly, you just never know what might turn up next. The holiday season, meanwhile, is really beginning to pick up. And for Glyn, the island busman, these are happy days. Ticket sales for his tours of St Mary's on his old open-topped bus have seen a sudden increase. Behind the wheel, Glyn becomes quite the showman. And when the sun's out, his passengers have a ball.
Harold Wilson was buried in the cemetery to the right of the church on June the 6th, 1995. Horatio Nelson is also buried in this cemetery. He was the local policeman, died here in 1898.
But what none of his passengers, or most islanders, are aware of is that Glyn has been secretly preparing for performing of a rather different kind. Right next to the parish church of St Mary's, you'll find one of the oldest cottages in Hughtown. This is where Glyn the island busman has lived on his own for many years. But Glyn's real glory days are so far back that not many islanders still remember them. This, believe it or not, is Glyn 40 years ago. He and 3 mates formed Scilly's first rock band way back in the 1960s.
You're quite the glamour boy there.
Yeah.
Did you kind of dream of, making it big?
I suppose in those days, yes. Yeah, I mean, everybody wanted to make it big. I can remember watching the Monkees on the TV, and then we'd get a couple of bottles of wine and we'd go down on the beach and we'd prance around, pretending we were the Monkees and stuff like that. I mean, it seems silly, but it was good fun at the time.
So what happened to this dream band of yours?
It folded up. We just went our different ways.
Now Glyn's decided that what he wants more than anything is to relive those glory days of so long ago. He's been secretly working on an audacious plan to turn that dream into reality. But it's not something he can do on his own. 200 miles to the north of Scilly, and this is the heart of the bustling North Wales town of Aberystwyth. As in the West Country, the Methodist Church is a powerful influence and well supported here. Today, the current minister to the town, the Reverend David Gibson, is showing around the man who's applied to take over his job. David Easton wants to move to a place that's very different to the life he's lived on the Isles of Scilly. As well as the big urban sprawl of Aberystwyth, his patch here would include a huge mountainous area and involve thousands of miles of driving each year. The house he'd be moving into is in the built-up suburbs of the town, a different world to his little flat on St Mary's.
Welcome to the manse, David.
How long does that take?
Oh, it's about 45 minutes to get from Lambert to over the mountain there. Do you have black or white coffee?
I'll take milk.
You take milk, good.
But before anything can be agreed, David has to overcome a huge obstacle.
Din post. Osgwellic and I don't know how much the postman is. Cerdyn post. Osgwellic and
The Welsh language here is very significant, particularly in this part of Wales. And that will be a big challenge indeed. It's not the easiest language to learn, but people do appreciate it if people try.
Diolch yn fawr. Good. Watson, yes. Yes, thank you.
David, how's the Welsh going?
In theory, it's going okay, but it's quite sort of slow. People sort of speak at you and you think, I ought to know that, and then you have to really think very hard, don't you? It's
room for improvement.
Yeah, but I've got to just try and use it. It's no good holding back and being shy and embarrassed about it, but you just got to just get out and start speaking it, even if you make a complete fool of yourself, really. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge.
David would love the job here, but to secure it, he must win the approval of key members of the congregation.
The church isn't just the buildings, it's the people. They've got to get on with me and I've got to get on with them. I suppose if they decided my face didn't fit, or I felt that I would be a square peg in a round hole here, then perhaps the appointment wouldn't go ahead. The most important thing I've got to do here is to actually meet the people, and they've got to meet me.
Now David can only wait to see if the people here have taken to him and whether he'll be formally offered the job.
Oh, iechyd da. That means good health.
Oh, thank you.
They've said they'll let him know shortly. If he doesn't get it, David will have to start the whole process all over again. Back on Scilly, and when the weather's not so good here, you tend to end up in the same place as most other visitors. Pub life thrives here when the sun's not shining. And working behind the bar down at the Old Mermaid, you can often see roving reporter Steve Watt. Steve finds this the perfect place to exchange news and bits of gossip. And today, he seems to have picked up quite a tidbit.
Yeah, we've got Prince Charles and Camilla on the way. I think it's the second time she's been here, but Prince Charles has been coming here on and off for probably 40 years.
As Duke of Cornwall, Prince Charles owns the Isles of Scilly, which are part of the Duchy of Cornwall. He doesn't have the chance to get over very often, so rumours that he and Camilla may be visiting the islands have really set tongues wagging. Down at Old Town Bay, one islander at least is hoping to glean an invitation to be presented to their Royal Highnesses. Heike is very excited.
Well, rumour has it there is going to be a high visit.
So this is a royal visit?
Yes. What?
Are you involved? Why are you laughing?
A person from the Duchy said that I would probably be invited and be introduced and so on. So you have to do the, you know, and wear a dress, not jeans or not a lab coat.
So you're going to meet Prince Charles?
I would think so. I hope so.
You've been led to believe?
Yeah.
What do you think about it?
Well, you know, if he likes animals, I believe he does, he'd be interested in, you know, the veterinary services. So it's not so bad. I'm not going to say hi, Charlie, you know. No, it's going to be a little bit more stiff.
More stiff?
Yes.
So you're not going to be wearing the jeans?
No, and no lab coat, no.
No lab
because
coat.
if you have to do this, I don't know what it's called.
Curtsy?
Yeah, curtsy. Curtsies don't look good in trousers, I think. No. Actually, I also think he speaks German very, very well.
So you can speak to him in German?
Even better.
Heike already knows exactly what she'll be wearing.
That's it.
Oh, that's lovely.
Roaring 20s.
Roaring 20s?
Roaring 20s. And it looks very good. I love it. I'd love to be dressed in this because I know I'm looking all right.
Yeah, no, it looks great. And you'll be able to curtsy okay in there.
Yeah. I think it's just going down on your halfway, so... I don't know.
Well, I need to practice a bit.
Probably.
Meanwhile, roving reporter Steve has been having to set aside time to organise his coverage of the impending royal visit. Although it's only a whistle-stop tour, it'll take a whole day out of his busy schedule, and it'll be physically demanding.
It's a flying visit, basically, to thank the duchy tenants, probably for giving him so much rent through the year. And
will they all be pleased to see him?
not all, but so he's flying in to the airport on St Mary's, and from there, I understand he'll be going to a boat shed over at Portlow, which is here on the west side of St Mary's. And then from there, he's travelling up to Trenoworth, which is on the northern side of St Mary's. So I'll be chasing around on the famous Out of Scilly roving reporter bike as fast as I can. From there, they go down to the quay down here in Hewtown. So it's about 2 miles.
To do that, you're going to have to pedal like hell, though, aren't you?
Well, I think I need to be cloned for this one.
Or if you make it in time, you're going to be incredibly out of breath, presumably, aren't you?
Well, I'll be very fit as well.
Steve's never covered a royal visit before and has no idea what the formal protocol is. The great British public may be in awe of the royal family, but here on Scilly, they take a rather more laid-back approach to such things. At this time of year, the little airport on St Mary's is a busy, bustling place. This evening, though, it's about to be put to a rather unusual use. A group of island men are about to join up here together after finishing their working day. This is Todd Stevens, the island carpenter. In charge of maintaining the airport vehicles is island engineer Dave Parr. And Merrin Smith looks after the outgoing helicopter passengers. After the last flight has departed, the terminal starts to echo to a very different sound. The guys have agreed to get together with Glyn, the Scilly busman, to form a brand new rock and roll band that's having one of its first rehearsals. The band's practicing in the airport terminal because it's about as far away as they can get from anyone who may be in danger of actually hearing them play. Their dream is to get good enough to perform a few gigs in public, but right now that may be looking a little ambitious for this season. After a few beers down at the old Atlantic Inn, though, for better or worse, Glyn and his mates reach a decision.
I mean, I'm happy to go along every Wednesday night because I thoroughly enjoy it. But if we haven't got a goal, then we don't work. It's going to take a lot of work, but we're going to give it a go. We want to definitely get something done by the end of the summer.
Well, put on a public performance.
Yeah, because we've got to aim for something, otherwise there's no point in doing it.
Bit of a high-risk strategy, isn't it, at this stage?
Yeah. Well, there's some good bands around there, some good musicians on the island, and unfortunately I'm not one of them.
Your head's on the block now, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many songs have you got?
How many songs have we got now?
Yeah.
Well, if you count Under the Boardwalk, 1.
Just the one? So you've got a bit of work to do, yes.
Yeah.
Through the early gloom of a misty summer morning comes an unfamiliar helicopter. It's carrying the Duke and Duchess of Cornwall, who are arriving on the remotest corner of the kingdom. First on their whistle-stop tour is the famous St Mary's gig sheds down on Porthmelon Beach, and the fearless Radio Scilly roving reporters in the thick of it.
The Prince is talking to the girl crew of the Golden Eagles. Well, he seems in very good humour, and he says he's got his hand on the gunwale, but he's moved further across. He's now by the stern of the Golden Eagle talking to some visitors. Not many locals here, intriguingly, but...
Steve, for one, isn't surprised to see so few islanders amongst the crowds, and the reason why goes back centuries. Most property on the islands is owned by or leased from the duchy. And most farmers are also tenants. Over the years, there have been schemes to provide low-cost housing to young families, like this new development of 6 homes on St Mary's. The duchy say more schemes like this are planned, and that they try to ensure a high proportion of its housing